I want to start this morning with the breaking news of the day. Broke a couple of hours ago, and that news is that Indianapolis Colts quarterback, formerly San Diego Chargers quarterback for 16 seasons, Philip Rivers has announced his retirement from the NFL. Philip Rivers finally winning something. He's winning the race to see who can retire first between him and Drew Brees. Yikes. That's kind of an indictment of Philip Rivers. He was never really able to win the big one, but still considered to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, considered to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a long time, despite his struggles in the playoffs. Historic trash talker, for anybody who's a diehard fan of football. You know that Philip Rivers can talk some ish. He's got multiple kids, so I'm sure he's going to have some fun being with all of his kids. But what a great career for Philip Rivers, despite his shortcomings in the postseason. I still think he should be considered to be a Hall of Famer, just based on what he's done in a franchise that hasn't always enabled him. They've had some good seasons, but they've really had a lot of mediocre seasons because Philip Rivers never had a concrete system around him. But still a great career, 244 career games, a 65% completion rating, over 63,000 yards passed for, 440 to be exact, 421 touchdowns, 209 interceptions, an 8-time Pro Bowler, and the best trash-talking quarterback in the NFL. Maybe we can throw that on his tagline as well. But according to Rivers, he said, "It's my time." He said something along the lines of, "I can sit here and tell myself that I can sling it and I can still throw it, even if it's not true." And he could be telling himself that until his early 50s if he wanted to. He says it's time to go, which, good for him. Sometimes the hardest part of being an athlete is deciding when to hang it up. So I'm sure it was a difficult decision for him, especially being on an Indianapolis Colts team that I think is extremely exciting, and they're going to be extremely good next year. So the question then becomes, who replaces Philip Rivers as the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts? Now, obviously on the roster already you have Jacoby Brissett, and this would be the fourth straight year in which Frank Reich has had a new starting quarterback. If Jacoby Brissett would come back to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, I don't think the Colts necessarily want to do that. They've had a full year of Jacoby Brissett, and he was okay. I think you would want to go in a different direction if you're the Indianapolis Colts, especially with the young talent that you have on the offense. So the question becomes, and I know the headline is Philip Rivers retire, but the more interesting question to me is who is going to replace Philip Rivers in Indianapolis. And as for the reasons I just stated, the Indianapolis Colts have already had a year of Jacoby Brissett, and I don't think they're entirely thrilled with that. But are they in a position to go and get one of the top quarterbacks in this draft? I don't necessarily think so. I mean, they could trade up and get like a Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, or maybe try and wait into the later rounds and get maybe somebody like Mac Jones potentially. But I think the quarterback, or the right quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, is already in the National Football League. And I'm really excited to share this take with you because this is something that in my mind of, if I were a GM of this team, which I am going to plan to make a series at some point, where I just go through every single NFL team and act as their GM for this upcoming offseason and what I would do to make them into a winner the next season. But in my mind, if I was the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm just so excited for this take, I would look to Matthew Stafford to be the next quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. And likewise, I think Matthew Stafford is looking down in Indianapolis and saying, that is some good pickings right there. That is a team that I would want to play for. Now, does Matthew Stafford want out of Detroit? Now, that's up for debate. I think, Indianapolis would have to trade for Stafford either way. Stafford has, I believe, 2 years left on his contract. But Matthew Stafford was reportedly selling his house earlier in the season, and that was some pretty big news when it happened, because it's like, well, is Matthew Stafford done with Detroit? And I think Matthew Stafford probably is done in Detroit. I think he probably wants out of that franchise. I mean, they've been running around like chickens with their heads cut off for a couple of seasons now, and Matthew Stafford really has had nothing to work with, either offensively since Calvin Johnson left, and defensively for a couple of years now. Matthew Stafford really hasn't had somebody to throw to besides Golden Tate and the name is escaping me. But T.J. Hawkins. I mean, they drafted T.J. Hawkinson in the first round when they could have gotten a really good wide receiver. It's like, it's those types of decisions that, as a quarterback, you look like, guys, what are we doing around here? So Matthew Stafford is probably saying, guys, what the heck are we doing around here? And you take a look at a young, exciting team like Indianapolis and say, that is a team I would want to play for. So if Matthew Stafford theoretically was going to force his way out of Detroit, much like Deshaun Watson is forcing his way out of Houston right now, although I think Matthew Stafford, that forcing out of Detroit would definitely be more amicable than Deshaun Watson's forcing out of Houston right now. I think if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm taking a look at a quarterback position in Indianapolis that is free for the taking and saying, please send me there. I mean, the Colts have a really exciting young defense. They've got a capable head coach who has proven that he can win with multiple quarterbacks, a good wide receiver core, T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman Jr. to name a few players. And not only that, it's the Detroit Lions have a really good draft pick this year that they are in prime pickings to choose a quarterback anyways. So if Detroit were to draft somebody like a Zach Wilson, if he's still available, or a Justin Fields at number 7, that would be a pretty good situation for the Detroit Lions anyway, because they have a new coach coming in Dan Campbell, who might want his own starting quarterback, his brand new starting quarterback anyway. For me, I just see how this is a win-win for everybody. Like, everybody gets what they want. Indianapolis gets a really good quarterback, a quarterback that they know can sling the football around. He's still relatively young. I think he's only like 32 years old, so he's got about maybe 4 or 5 seasons of good football left. Yes, he's coming out of his prime, but he's still going to be playing good football. He is a very talented quarterback, despite having some really iffy seasons in Detroit, which I don't think anybody holds against Matthew Stafford, because, as I said, Detroit has been a bit of a dumpster fire recently. I don't consider it to be his fault. So Matthew Stafford has had a couple of iffy years in Detroit. He would want out of that franchise. He would get to go to an exciting young franchise, or a young rebuilding team that almost beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs this year with some great wide receiver talent. Like, why would you not want that? Now, obviously, the big variable is that Matthew Stafford is still under contract. Either he has to force his way into a trade, or Indianapolis takes a look around the league and says, okay, I want that guy. We're going to have to trade for him. Now, the Colts do have all 7 of their draft picks this year. I don't know about their draft picks in the next draft, but I can easily say, throw a second rounder or a second and third rounder at the Detroit Lions and see if they give you Matthew Stafford, because the Detroit Lions are already in position to take a quarterback with their 7th pick in the draft anyways. I just think this is a really, really interesting situation. I think Justin Fields would be interesting in Detroit. I think Justin Fields would be interesting in a lot of places. We'll talk about Justin Fields here shortly, because he unsurprisingly declared for the draft, but just think about the things that Matthew Stafford could do with a good defense and a young, developing wide receiver core that can actually catch a football. It sounds really exciting to me. I would be all over this if I was the Indianapolis Colts general manager. Let's see if they try and make a move and get a deal done. That's what I would do. I think every side would be relatively happy. Detroit gets draft picks and a new quarterback in the first round. Matthew Stafford gets a good football team. And the Indianapolis Colts get a good quarterback who can throw the football like nobody's business, multiple 4,000-yard passing seasons. And you get 4 to 5 years out of this quarterback. I think it's the way to go. Let me know what you think. I think that would be a genuinely exciting move for the NFL, because I don't think that the Colts are going to settle for Brissett, and I don't necessarily think they're in a position to move up and take a quarterback in the first round of the draft this year. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. You've heard what I've had to say, now I'm interested to hear what you think as well. If you enjoyed this highlight from the show and want to watch more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon.